His father frequently took him and his brother Josh on caving expeditions in Utah when they were kids. The boys learned to love the underground depths and their dark beauty. Unfortunately, John Edward Jones' first expedition into Nutty Putty Cave as hard as they could. But suddenly, and without warning, one of the pulleys failed. Roundy believes that the pulley came looser at its anchor point in the cave wall, which contained a substantial amount of loose clay. The rope and pulley operation was no more. The rescuers had no other viable plan, and John was trapped. So again, doing my research with this, when they tried to pull him out, and when the pulleys failed, somehow or another, well, actually it was working, and then when the pulley failed, poor John, he just went further into the hole. He got stuck even worse. He went further down. So like I said, they had him, they were getting him, and somehow or another the pulley failed. It broke, and unfortunately it shoved him further and deeper down in the hole that he was already trapped. So by that point, there was nothing anyone can do. Nothing. They were out of options. Like nothing. He was completely trapped. Roundy replays the rescue over and over in his head, even years after the incident. I reviewed the whole mission, wishing we had done this tiny detail differently, or done that sooner, or done this or done that. But it's no use second guessing things. We did our best. With no hope of rescue, and his heart having suffered hours and hours upon strain due to his downward position, John was pronounced dead of cardiac arrest shortly before midnight on the evening of November 25th, 2009. And actually, going through my research on this story, there's one thing that stuck out on me that I don't know why, but I remember the rescue team kept talking to him, and he was in incredible pain. He had no feeling at all at his legs. So like when your legs go numb, I mean, we were past the numb stage. He was in so much pain. He was downward, or all the blood flowing to his head. His heart is working overtime, double overtime. He's afraid. I just couldn't even imagine what this young man was thinking. I mean, so yeah, John was pronounced dead of cardiac arrest shortly before midnight on the evening of November 25th, 2009. Rescuers had spent 27 hours trying to save John. His family thanked the rescuers for their help, even despite the horrible news. And I remember the other guy who was 5'7" and 140 pounds. It took them 14 hours, and John's rescue took 27 hours. But again, there was nothing they could do. Nutty Putty Cave lived up to his reputation on the night of John's death. Discovered in 1960 by Dale Green, he named it sad.